If you haven't watched my mini-series called Morning Decrees, Psalms 23, watch it. Okay, I really recommend it. In this video, I want to talk about something that really should be obvious to you by now, but I'll repeat it. And I'll entitle this video Jezebel's Doom. Oh, I love that title, Jezebel's Doom. And about Jezebel, Jezebel is not just a metaphor that pagan church use. Jezebel is a real entity. It's a Nephilim entity. Okay, what is a Nephilim? A Nephilim is a descendant of what you can say a fallen angel that procreated with a female. That's a human being, a human female. Or the Nephilim is the offspring of a male and a female Nephilim. So you don't have to be a direct descendant of that fallen angel. If it's two Nephilim, a male Nephilim and a female Nephilim having kids, they're a Nephilim, okay? So Jezebel is a Nephilim, because when a Nephilim dies, contrary to human beings who depart to Sheol, where they remain until Christ returns and resurrects them, Nephilim, because they're not part of God's creation, they're not part of the plan, and they will never be accepted to the same position as human beings who are the reflection of God's image. When their bodies expire, whether it's them being killed either by human beings or by each other, or their bodies just fall apart, they hang around. They keep hanging around the earth, seeking whom they can feed off. Just like their ancestors, the fallen angels, they are parasites, okay? And these parasites don't originate from the heavens. Those are earth-born filth. That's what they are. Earth-born diseases. That's really what they are, but they are entities. They have, just like human beings are entities. We have will, feelings, all of that. They too, but they're not human. You get what I'm saying? But I've spoken about Nephilim entities a lot already. I want to talk about this entity Jezebel because this entity, many people are confused about who she is. Now, I'm not making this video to make Jezebel famous, okay? Absolutely not. But I need to explain who she is and what her role is in much of the harm we face today. Among the ancient Greeks, that's briefly after, how you say, after the, actually at the end of the rule of Nimrod, in that area, at that time frame, you had this Nephilim being born, this female Nephilim that had the ability, the paranormal ability to shapeshift. Now many Nephilim have that, but this female Nephilim did it very well. For example, if she would walk through town in some Greek city, because she lived in the area today called Greece, well, she could magnetically just pull the attention of men. She didn't have to wear short skirts or any makeup and like that. She could just draw energy from men, because she's a vampire, remember? A Nephilim is a vampire. She could just draw energy from them. Not all vampires bite you and drain your blood and in such a way. Many vampires just draw from your energy, from your bodily and spiritual energy. They withdraw it from you, and that's how they drain you. And they can kill you like that also. So this energy vampire, Jezebel, would just walk through town and she would just magnetically pull male energy to her and drain the men. But this couldn't happen with all the men, okay? Because the men would realize, well, a minute, something's wrong with this woman over here. So what she did was that she had this modus operandi that she changed into whatever you wanted as a man. If you had an Egyptian, for example, because Egyptians also traveled around back then, if you had an Egyptian over there who favored tanned women with dark hair, and she found this out, and let's say she decided to prey on you, because she's a vampire, remember, then she would shapeshift, morph into an Egyptian woman with dark hair. And she would approach you. And she would magnetically draw energy from you, so you feel this pull towards her. And because she reflects what you desire in a woman, you think, oh dear, who is she? I want more of her. She becomes whatever you want. If it was someone from the Germanic tribes that visited visited the Greek area for trade, and those men preferred blonde-haired women with blue eyes who were a bit thin, then she would morph into that, and she would wave her blonde hairs, and those Germanic men who were there for trade will be captured by her looks, and they feel this strong urge that they need to have her. So you would have a bunch of sailors all looking at her, they go, oh dear, who is she? They just can't stop looking at her. That's what Jezebel did. And once those men got close, the men would make their move on her, and she would kill them. They would either, it was during the sex that she would kill them by drawing all their energy from their bodies, and the men would collapse. Either during the sex or the days afterwards, they would get sick, their organs would stop functioning and they die. Or it wasn't related to sex, but she just wanted them around, and after they were around her, they got sicker and sicker and they died. That was Jezebel. And during her lifetime, remember, she appears human, but she's not. There were females, real women, that got inspired by her, that wanted to be just like her, because they saw this girl, this young woman coming around, having this power over the men. And the men just lost their mind, didn't know what to do when she was around. So yet women wanted to be just like her. So she got a big following back then. And those women began to emulate her behavior. She became like a teacher unto them, how those human women could overpower men and withdraw energy from men. Now, those women were not, they didn't have the paranormal ability to magnetically pull energy from men. But those women were taught psychological tricks, how to trick men into donating their male energy to those women without those women being aware of it. So she got this big following. So the moment came that the leaders in ancient Greece realized, hold on a minute, we need to get rid of this entity. She's killing the young men. She also has a following of women that believe in her. And those women are losing their minds. This goes so far. So they tricked her and they killed her. As you know, with the Nephilim, the body is gone, so the Nephilim can't be active. Anyone but the Nephilim keeps hanging around. When she was killed, her followers were outraged. They were sad. But they made a vow to continue her legacy. And here's the thing, she's a Nephilim, so they could always conjure her up in ceremonies, and she would appear. Or she would possess one of the witches there and speak through that witch. Those witches that followed Jezebel, they transferred this knowledge to the next generation. And they recruited other young women to become witches, just like them. Often those were women from the countryside or women with psychological issues who needed help. The vulnerable women, they would prey on them and lure them into the cult. Because that cult was females only. Men were not allowed. Men were seen as the enemy. Okay? So those witches continued the legacy. And Jezebel was not her real name, her name was Aphrodite. But other Greeks called her Artemis, and the Italic Greeks that lived in the Italian peninsula, they called her Diana, or Diana. Okay, the goddess Anna, but okay. Those were the names she had, and the Israelites called her Jezebel. They had a whole nother name for her. The ancient Chinese also called her with another name, but I forgot about that one. you can look it up for yourself when you do research. So, in Europe, this female-only cult became a hype throughout the generations. You had those women who would seclude themselves from the human community. They would form those small communities, very tiny communities. They would depart to the forests, build the villages over there. Or if they remained in the civilization, they would be very separate. They would have this depressed aura around them, and it's this depressed aura that caused men to feel sorry for them. And when men tend to feel sorry for women, they tend to want to reach out, want to help. And there's nothing wrong with that attitude, but those witches use it to trap men and to sacrifice them. That's what they did. And one thing those witches did was that they would take young boys, traumatize them, because they had kids also. Even though they couldn't stand men, well, they had relationships with men to have children, and they would either kidnap children or one of their own kids. They would take a kid, often a boy, they would traumatize the boy severely. They did it together. And why did they do this? Because when the boy is completely traumatized, especially when it happens between the ages between 8 and 12, when the kid is about to enter puberty, that can cause a lifelong wound. And now evil spirits have access to that boy. And because that kid is so mentally broken down, they can now reprogram the mind of that kid into whatever they want. And that's where you got those serial killers and assassins from. They were produced by witches, and were men that got along with it, because those witches needed men to get along with them. Well, they always found men to get along with them, but that's what they did. So that's how it went amongst what you can consider the amongst white people, or the white ethnicity, or Caucasians, however you want to call them. So those witches were the Artemis witches, Dianic witches, whatever label you want to use. That's what they were. The other places in the world, like in Africa, like in Asia, and in the Americas, we will also have those female followers of Aphrodite, but they were repressed, okay? Much. But in Europe, folks had a high tolerance for them. Okay, and because they could flourish in Europe. And well, the point came when the gospel, this far later in history, when the gospel is being preached into Europe by the apostles. You can read it in the book of Acts, that people that were affected by the gospel woke up to this wickedness of tolerating this Jezebel cult. So folks began to take action against it. But here's the thing: the Romans, in the Roman Empire, this Dianic or Artemis witchcraft was part of the economy locally in many places. So they benefited from it. So when the believers came with the gospel, people began to be set free from all of this. Man, there was fierce retaliation against them. And these Artemis witches, Dianic witches, whatever we want to call them, they remained. Though to the arrival of Christianity, I'm not talking about pagan Christianity in a form of whether it's Catholicism or other isms, the real biblical revelation suppressed Dianic witchcraft or Artemis witchcraft, whatever you want to call it. But it didn't eradicate it completely. And in the modern era, that means in the 19th century, when there was a big revival going on in the world, there were men that longed for the lost mystery religions. And Dianic or Artemis witchcraft was still around in the world, but it got repackaged. So now you have a modern version of Dianic witchcraft, which is not the original version, but this version is far watered down. This version is far more humanitarian. It's still witchcraft, nevertheless, but it's a bit more humanitarian. And if people that belong to the Wiccan religion that practice it, they are Dianic Wiccans, or maybe they just call themselves Dianic. But those women belong to the modern neo-pagan version of Dianic witchcraft. They may not practice child sacrifice, nor MKUltra, nor any of that, but still they reflect Jezebel, the Aphrodite, okay? And in modern day art, this Dianic witchcraft or Artemis witchcraft is also glorified. For those that love comic books, I'm going to show this, or if you like movies or not. Okay, as I mentioned before, Artemis is another name for this entity. And as you can see, these are statues of her in ancient times. The other name for her was Diana, as I mentioned before. As you can see, the same deity. She was also called Venus, or in English is Venus. That was another name for her. But in modern day mythology, she's called Mystique and Rogue. In the X-Men series, this Rogue is a shapeshifter that changes into anything you want. Where does this come from? Well, that's Jezebel. And this Rogue, when she's around you, she takes away all your energy. She can kill you. And here's the thing, she can also change her hair color at will. Again, shapeshifter. So in the X-Men series, they express Jezebel in two characters. One is so-called evil, and the other one is good. So-called good, okay? And well, about Dianic witchcraft, about the modern version, you can read all about it yourself. Well, I don't really recommend Wikipedia as the only source. You can find books in the library and all of it, but as mentioned here, Dianic witchcraft in the present is practiced by witches often as a form of therapy to heal from past wounds or from a troubling childhood. Well, real healing doesn't exist in the paranormal, but okay, those women are deceived. And why am I showing this? It's because many of those, many of those incidents in which people lose their minds, especially men lose their minds and committing atrocities like picking up a gun, entering a school and shooting on children, or entering a mall, shooting on people. Many of those men are the victims of MKUltra. And MKUltra is an ancient practice that was used since the time of Babylon. That's taking a kid, traumatizing it mentally and also physically so much that the human being can't think straight anymore. And then you program the human being, which enables you to control the human being by using trigger words and symbols. And then you can use that human being to commit all kinds of weird things in the community. And when weird things are done, people will look at that human being as the bad guy, as the monster. And because of that, everyone begins to hate that human being, and all the bad energies of the population goes to that human being. And later you execute that human being, or you put him in jail. And then the people are at ease. The people get relief after bad energies. Okay, so it's a method to relieve the population of their negative energy, of the negative tensions. Because that's what worldly people are for. That's what they're after, relief. They don't have real happiness, but they have relief. So to secure relief, you sacrifice some people, either through war, because war is a ritual to sacrifice some young men, or you bring living sacrifices, because soldiers that die during the war are dead sacrifices. But you can't bring that sacrifice all of the time. You need to have some living sacrifices also. And living sacrifices are those MKUltra victims, which are witchcraft victims. Well, I mentioned before that in the European ethnicity, or amongst, you can call white people, these Artemis witches were quite tolerated. And that may explain why this serial killer phenomena is so much associated with what you can call white people. Does it mean that white people are genetically inferior or anything like that? No. It just reveals that they have a high tolerance for Jezebel. And when you tolerate Jezebel, her followers do such things. And then they keep wondering why school shootings or all those things keep happening. Not all the things on the media is a hoax. There are real events happening, even though media often tends to present their hoaxes, well, in the form of fake news, but real incidents happen. But often the real incidents are not reported. That thing, MKUltra, happens a lot. And it's an expression of those, especially it's a part of this worship of Jezebel. I've talked before about male sponsors of Jezebel and how male sponsors of Jezebel, they wound women to deform women mentally of the image of that goddess that they worship. I've talked about that before in another video. You can look it up on the YouTube channel, Sponsors of Jezebel. Now, here in this video, I've spoken about the agents of Jezebel who are really who are females worshiping this entity and who agree with her. They want to be just like her, and they're willingly to molest kids, harm kids, put children into prostitution, and they would even get involved in marriages where the husband or the man is completely out of his mind, and they would enable that husband to remain addicted or to remain in alcoholism or whatever, so that she could play the victim and get sympathy from others. She may have kids and even use the kids in this plot. Yeah, so those Artemis witches go very far. And there are cultures, or there are places where they're not tolerated. We'll just tell them, not going to happen here. But then you have those nations where, man, and those Artemis witches appear and do their thing, man, people just fall for her. They protect her. She's the victim. Man. In the book of Revelations, Christ made plain unto the believers not to tolerate Jezebel. This refers both to that demonic, filthy entity as well as her human agents who enact her wishes. Because that demonic filth is nothing relevant, really. She's only hovering around the earth. She's only wandering throughout the earth without purpose, because she will be deported to the lake of fire soon. What makes her relevant are those Artemis witches, or the Yannick witches. Well, the Yannick witches, let me just say Artemis witches now, because the Yannick witches are used also for that neo-pagan religion, which is not really the same as real Artemis witchcraft, but it's still witchcraft. Those Artemis witches go very far. And as long as people, especially men, keep putting up with it, it continues. It's not only the men that have responsibility, also other females need to say, cut it out. But well, what I see happening around me in the Western world now is that even in the fashion industry and in youth culture, they present this Artemis worship as a form of modern emancipation. And here's the thing, that image of a female being very thin, very bony, and dressing sexually provoking, that image refers to Jezebel. Because a human female should have some body fat on below her skin. I want to say on her bones, but below her skin is for a more accurate description. She should. That's natural. or else she can't bear children, and besides bearing children, she's designed to have some body fat on her. If she is around 7, 8 years old and she's a bit thin, very thin, that's different. But the moment she approaches puberty, she should have some body fat. There's nothing wrong nor ugly about it. That's natural. That's how Christ designed it. But which female beings that look human but aren't human are thin like that? Vampires do. Female vampires, and Jezebel is a female vampire. So that image that the media and Hollywood has programmed you into idolizing, that's Jezebel. So Western men are conditioned to fall for Jezebel. If that demonic filth, she can't do it because she doesn't have the ability to do it, but if she could just appear in public right now, man, many men will just fall for her, just like that. Why? Because this entity, according to from human perspective, she looks good. Now, I'm not going to praise her, but she looks good according to human standards. She's a demonic filth, so you shouldn't even consider her attractive to begin with, but to male side, she is hot, okay? And by the way, the expression of a hot lady, that comes from this worship of Jezebel. I use that expression also because it has become part of the culture. So when things are part of the culture, you tend to use them. But I explain origin now. That entity, Jezebel, remember she's a paranormal entity. When she withdrew energy from men, it felt as if something was taken away from them. And because the body is also, conflicted by both the danger and sexual attraction, the body heats up. And that's why you experience this heat when Jezebel was around. So she was considered a hot lady. You get what I'm saying here? Now look, I'm not saying you can't use that expression when you talk to your friends and all of that. We know what you mean, but I explain unto you where that expression comes from. Jezebel was the hot lady because she caused heat in men, which was really anxiety because the body was conflicted by the danger it sends, but also the sexual attraction at the same time. And men, one thing I'm telling you, when you feel this concerning a woman, this confusion, this heat in your body, which is the confusion of both danger and excitement, they shouldn't be there at the same time, then you know that woman has a Python spirit. Because this Jezebel doesn't only have human agents. In the demonic realm, she has a lot of Python spirits working for her also. And I explained to you before, Python spirits are those type of spirits. They hunt on men, and once they get a hold of you, they kill you. Okay? Alright. I'm going to close with this. Many love songs, I'm not saying all love songs, many love songs that become mainstream or that become hits, part of mainstream music, those love songs are aimed at Jezebel. So you hear this guy talking about this woman, that he loves her, that he wants to do anything for her. So you think that he's talking about a girlfriend, or he talks to fall in love in general. No. He is singing a hymn to Jezebel. But if you would evaluate the lyrics, you would find disturbing things in the lyrics. But most people don't evaluate the lyrics. But if you evaluate the lyrics, you would find another minute. He's not addressing a natural female here. He's addressing Jezebel. And what happens when you hear those songs? The disturbing lyrics, you remember them. But those disturbing lyrics then begin to affect you. Why do they affect you? Because you're not aware they're disturbing. If you are aware they are disturbing, it can't affect you. Because you are aware of it, you process it properly. But if you're not aware of it, you can't process it properly and it begins to affect you. And that's how you are conditioned to fall for Jezebel also. That's how you are conditioned to enable, enable witchcraft. You get what I'm saying here? So look, you can listen to any song, any music you want. Just process the lyrics correctly. And some songs you don't even want to listen to them anymore because they're filled with garbage. For example, Total Eclipse of the Heart is a song from the 80s. When you look at the lyrics, it's a very depressed, self-accursing lyric. If any woman out there would begin to speak in such a manner, people tell her, you need to go to a psychologist or to a psychiatrist, you need help, you're suicidal, you are out of your mind. But now you have those pagans, they are really pagan rulers, to be more correctly. They came with a song, which is really a depressed song, but they made this rhythmic beat based on Pythagorean magic. Pythagorean magic, when it relates to music, means that you put certain rhythm in a song that causes the brain to get attached to that sound. So they made us a melody in line with Pythagorean magic, or that's a Greek magic, if you want to say it like that, and they put this depressed lyric in that melody. And they repeat it on radio stations over and over again, and that's how it became a hit. So when people hear it, they hear the beat and think, whoa, and the lyrics bypass them. But if you would put the lyrics out there on some other melody, and people would hear, they would think, what? That's also how you're being conditioned to tolerate Jezebel. Well, that's all for now. Agree with Christ, he will be at peace.